Maybe he might start to strike borderline civilian targets like power plants or bridges or whatnot, which would be a line cross for us.
But President Trump is going to have to drive these very bad actors into the Stone Age.
They can give a damn about this war. What they do give a damn about is gas prices, meat prices, and not being able to afford things every day.
Do you want the bullet or do you want the bribe?
Thank God
you have two options. I'm here for it.
What?
Now the president has made a mess of things, made a mess of the economy, but his ego will not permit him to go to Xi Jinping and the European leaders and have a multilateral solution to get us out of this mess.
If the president imagines that he can just carry out this conflict by dropping bombs from above without ever getting any boots on the ground and make any meaningful progress, I think that seems to be a policy that's probably not going to yield results.
Guys, last night on Abby Phillip show, Maga Pundits got utterly annihilated when they tried to defend Donald Trump's latest warning to Iran. Abby and the progressive panel fact-checked these Maga Pundits so hard, they were cornered into complete silence. Now I'm going to play some clips from the show, and I'll talk about it as we go.
President Trump tells Axios that he's considering a, quote, massive attack against Iran, one bigger than ever before, and he's close to making that decision now. He says Iran wants to negotiate, but Trump doesn't want to make a deal. He says, quote, they haven't received enough pain yet. However, the New York Times is also reporting tonight that Iran has rejected a ceasefire proposal from Trump, one that was presented to them by the Iraqi foreign prime minister. Now, sources tell CNN that U.S. intelligence agencies say the bombing that the U.S. is currently carrying out is unlikely to shift Iran's negotiating position. And according to Marco Rubio, Trump is done with a proportional response.
Do you rule out striking civilian infrastructure?
I think I saw, guys, I saw Arachi, their foreign minister, who the other day say or something about their policies, an eye for an eye. The president's policy is a head for an eye. I mean, honestly, that's what it's going to be.
It all comes as the House narrowly voted to limit Trump's war powers in Iran, but a similar measure was rejected in the Senate. And a new Fox News poll shows that Trump's and the party's support is waning. Trump is significantly underwater when it comes to his handling of his job, as well as inflation, the economy, Iran, even immigration. With the midterms just over 3 months away, some are already sounding the alarm.
The truth is there's not much good news for Republicans in this whole poll we did. Underwater on the economy, as you showed, underwater on affordability. Those two issues are front and center for sure. And everywhere you look, Republicans are down.
For starters, when you hear the president talking tough, as he has been, frankly, for the last several months in this conflict, and then also sending Iran a proposal for a ceasefire that they then summarily reject, what does it tell you about what the strategy is here?
There is no strategy. I'm for results. We just voted to, again, stop the war in Iran this morning in the House. But what has the president achieved? He's driven gas prices up. He's driven food prices up. The enriched uranium is still in Iran. They have a more extreme regime because the sun isn't even saying what Khamenei did, which was we won't develop nuclear weapons. The IRGC is stronger. They have more control over the Strait of Hormuz, and Americans are being killed. And the American people are saying this is worse than just a moral crime. It's a blunder. And you promised to end foreign wars, and you're getting us into this mess. You're failing.
Carla, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I shook my head because, President Trump is doing what no American president did since Jimmy Carter. He's actually taken on this murderous regime, the Mueller regime, the IRGC. These are revolutionary nuts, and they're killing their own people, and they've killed American soldiers throughout the world for decades. President Trump is the first president to say, you know what, it may cost me politically, but I'm going to do the right thing. He's done this in Venezuela. He's working on this in Cuba. He's working around the world to make the United States, the people, safer. And there are people in Iran that want to have democracy, that have a plan. The NCRI are fighting to have democracy, clean elections, equality among the sexes, and for the religions with freedom of religion and clean courts. So there are people that want to fight back against this regime. As they get weaker, they get more of a chance. So I think this is a great opportunity for the Iranian people. But President Trump is going to have to drive these very bad actors into the Stone Age to change the what's happening now.
But are they? How much weaker are they really in this moment?
There's one thing that Congressman left out, and that is they also came to Congress this week and asked for $76 billion, a lot of money. And I'm not saying they need it or they don't need it, but what I do know is I've been running campaigns from California to New York. And right now, the American public ain't where they were in World War I or World War II. Right now, they're all out of give a dams. And they can give a damn about this war. What they do give a damn about is gas prices, meat prices, and not being able to afford things every day. I think because of these things and because we're in a different place with not just 3 networks, folks are getting their own information and being fed things that they want or don't want. If you've got a Let's Go Brandon flag on your boat, you're with him. If you've got a Bernie Sanders tattoo, you're against him. But everybody in the middle right now, I'm telling you right now, is all out of give a dams about this war.
But I think most Americans recognize that there is a very serious connection between the conflict in Iran and all of those pocketbook issues that you were referring to earlier. And I think that even among the president's base, a lot of the reason why he won is because he ran with a very particular kind of foreign policy. Non-interventionist, we're not going to start stupid wars abroad. And I think it's possible for 2 things to be true at once, that the president was being bold, is willing to confront very bad, malevolent actors in the world, but he also went about it in a foolish and foolhardy way that seems to be pretty poorly calculated. It isn't clear that there is an obvious good path forward here. If the president imagines that he can just carry out this conflict by dropping bombs from above without ever getting any boots on the ground and make any meaningful progress, I think that seems to be a policy that's probably not going to yield results.
So Trump today,
Guys, I can't believe Trump just keeps repeating the same threats to Iran, but they haven't changed the situation on the ground. Honestly, it's sickening to watch this clown keep telling the American people that we're winning this war. But in reality, we're in a terrible situation right now. This is the truth, whether we admit it or not. None of Trump's threats have put Iran on the back foot. Instead, these attacks have made Iran more resilient than ever, and it no longer seems interested in a ceasefire. Not only that, Trump and his brainless allies have caused more than $100 billion in infrastructure damage. They've also wasted $37.5 billion in recent months on this self-chosen war. I mean, that money could have improved the lives of American families. And as if that wasn't enough, Trump and his reckless cronies are asking for $67 billion more to spend on this fight. What's even worse is that this egotistical man has put American soldiers' lives in danger. Hundreds have been injured, and more than 11 have been killed in this war that seems to have no end.
Said that any damages that Iran does to ships, cargo, or anything in the Strait of Hormuz would be paid for in Iranian money that the United States has in its possession. This is quite the contrast to what he was willing to do just a few months ago when he was willing to release sanctions on Iranian oil, potentially unfreeze hundreds of millions of dollars in assets, potentially create a fund for the Iranians. That was a pretty sweetheart deal for Iran. They didn't have to do a whole lot to get that, and they rejected it anyway. I'm coming back to the question of, is there even a little bit of strategy here, or is it just a lot of random things being said day after day?
I think what comes across as randomness is actually iteration. The Codillo politics, right? The plata o plomo, silver or lead. Do you want the bullet or do you want the bribe?
Thank God you
have 2
translated
options.
that.
I'm here for it.
What? Sorry.
I speak Portuguese better, but yeah, it's a different story. Like that is what defines a lot of the politics of this administration. And I think that is the absolute right approach in the Middle East. It works very well in Latin America. Doesn't translate so well to Europe. But when it comes to these operations that we're seeing, they are not going forward with the, you're with us or against us. It's all or nothing. Damn the consequences. It is, we're going to try this. Let's see the reaction. We're going to try this. Let's see the reaction. We didn't mention the fact the blockade is back on. We didn't mention the fact that those funds have not been released. There is still a sweetener. There's still a pot at the end of that rainbow if the Iranians so choose that. If the regime says, you know what, we want to see ourselves as part of a productive Middle East. If they don't want to do that, CENTCOM is still there. We have not reduced our forces in the region.
Haven't we really put most of it on the table already at this point? We put the biggest thing we have, which is our military, on the table first. We did that. That was the first thing we did. Then we offered them a ton of money. That didn't work. It doesn't strike me that there's a whole lot left, except what Trump also seems to be threatening, which is that maybe he might start to strike borderline civilian targets like power plants or bridges or whatnot, which would be a line cross for us. So, I mean, do you think that there's really much more left for them to to either threaten or to offer to the Iranians in this moment?
The problem is we're losing our leverage. And what's gnawing at Trump is that Barack Obama was far more effective, that Barack Obama actually got China and the EU and got a multilateral agreement that got 97% of enriched uranium out. And it turns out being statesmanlike and being smart and strategic is better than bluster for America's national interest. And now the president has made a mess of things, made a mess of the economy, but his ego will not permit him to go to Xi Jinping and the European leaders and have a multilateral solution to get us out of this mess and to help the Americans.
I'm sorry.
You jump in,
I mean, the Iranians killed an order of magnitude more Americans under President Obama than they have under President
That's just
Trump.
not true.
That is absolutely true. I was in Iraq getting the EFPs that the Iranians were supplying to the Jaish al-Mahdi, Assad al-Haq, all of the Iranian-backed militias.
Obama didn't go to Dover Air Force Base and have to look at dead Americans coming in. Obama didn't preside over the Strait of Hormuz.
I mean, he should have, because there were my colleagues coming back from Iraq.
From Iraq, but not from the direct.
Who were killed by Iranian-backed
proxy groups.
Yes, who were receiving their funding and receiving their weapons.
Those were being
Iran.
killed under the first Trump term as well, and you know that as well as I do. Trump has created a disaster.
And killed under Biden and Jordan.
And what he has done is he engaged in the very regime change wars that he ran against, and he believes that he can attack
That's
the world.
criticism. There's no regime change, right? That is the crux of the Democratic criticism. You haven't changed the regime. It's not a regime
But he
change.
tried.
And
he failed.
inflation, if I may, was much higher under President Biden.
Yes.
The economy
Gas prices,
was much
oil
worse
prices,
under
much
President
higher.
Biden.
The inflation.
He pushed so much money out. He just flooded the zone with so much money with the inflation.
You know, we can relitigate Biden, but the reality is President Trump ran on one issue.
Of garbage. And then he was throwing the gold bars out from the EPA, just funding left-wing causes to the tens of billions
Hold on.
of
Okay,
dollars.
the gold bars thing is not quite what you're describing, but let me just read this.
Billions of dollars.
Just to your comment about the economy. Here's a viewer comment that says, the true war this president has to deal with is the war against the economy. And just to that point, this Fox News poll shows that 76% of Americans have a negative view of this economy. And now 54% of Americans say Democrats would do a better job than Republicans on the economy. So maybe, at the height of inflation under Biden, for sure, the numbers were worse. But it's been interesting because I think voters right now, their sentiment about the economy is similar, or if not the same or worse than it was under Biden. And I think some of it has to do with the fact that they felt like they got out of the woods and now they're going in the wrong direction because of some of the decisions Trump has made.
Absolutely. And I think it's, adjudicating whether Obama or Trump has a better record of Iran at this point.
Guys, here's the part that really gets me. Trump has claimed victory over and over again in the last few months. And you know what? He has insisted that we have destroyed Iran's navy, dismantled their supplies, eliminated their power to strike back, and destroyed their missile launcher. Here's what I don't get. If what he's saying is true, then how is Iran still fighting? How is it still firing missiles at American assets in the region? The reality is, this liar sitting in the White House has shattered America's image as the world's most powerful country. Let's be honest for a second. Iran is in a much stronger position today than it was before this war. It now has control over a route that carries nearly 20% of the world's oil supply. Meanwhile, back home, millions of Americans are suffering in their daily lives. Rising inflation, higher prices for groceries, gas, healthcare, and housing are the real issues that are being ignored completely by the Trump administration. Instead of fixing those issues, this moron is wasting tens of billions of taxpayer dollars in this unnecessary war. It's honestly ridiculous. And the most embarrassing part is that this war just keeps dragging on and these clowns still don't have an exit strategy.
It's a bit of a moot point. We are where we are in this very difficult, intractable situation. And I think that the president, the administration needs to take a very hard look in the mirror. They need to find allies on both sides of the aisle. It is very difficult, and I suspect it was a difficult vote to cast when American service persons are being killed abroad by an adversarial regime, and one is voting against actual engagement with them. I understand why someone might want to cast that vote. If the administration doesn't seem to have a coherent strategy for dealing with this, I think it can be very difficult to actually rally support for some sort of military engagement. But this is where we are right now, and figuring out how to get out of that entanglement is.
There's a reason why Joe Biden was blamed because he was in charge at that point and things were high and things cost too much. Well, now Republicans are in charge of every aspect of Congress. The reason I went on that tirade in the beginning of a war thing to talk about the economy was what you just said in that poll. This is what Americans really care about right now. If you ask them if they want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, they'll say no. But they say right now, that's good and that's over there. But right here is where I'm hurting. It happened under Joe Biden and now it's happening under Donald Trump, but even worse. That's why the American public, I ain't taking a side on either one of who did whatever, but I run campaigns every day, and these people are all fed up, all across America, who work hard every day, who don't feel like nobody's listening to them.
I think the danger here is that voters decide to just take the car keys away from the driver that they think is sending the car into
Trump's done the impossible. He's given Democrats a lead on the economy. I don't think we've had that before.
A rare thing.
Ballot advantage has started to erode.
We have to leave it there.
All right, guys, that's it for today. Let me know what you guys think about Trump's latest warning to Iran. I'll see you in the next video.